Hello everybody, Wild Bill for America here, and it's the 4th of July when we celebrate American liberty. And as we celebrate today, I want us to also remember one of the greatest threats to American liberty. As Americans, we must never forget what the Democrats did to our troops in Vietnam. Communists had invaded Vietnam and were butchering the citizens, assassinating anyone who was a leader of the people. Teachers, mayors, all religious leaders, fathers and sons were dragged out of their homes in the middle of the night, put up against a wall and shot without even being given a trial. That's what communism does. It is a despicably evil and bloodthirsty movement. Today, communism is called socialism. The people of Vietnam were pleading for help, and the USA answered the call. American soldiers and Marines left their families to go take a stand for the men, women, and children of Vietnam. That is what Americans do. The communists were heavily armed and had Russian and Chinese military advisors, but the USA was stronger and had everything necessary to drive the bloodthirsty communist aggressors out of Vietnam. But there was one problem. The Democrats in Washington, D.C. were more loyal to communism than to their own country, and they sabotaged the U.S. military at every turn. We could have easily cut off the supplies to the communist enemy by shutting down the Ho Chi Minh Trail and blockading the harbors, thus choking off the communists' ability to fight. But the Democrat Party blocked all efforts by the military to disrupt communist supply lines. American soldiers and Marines fought and died to drive the communists out of towns and villages, only to be forced by the Democrat Congress to give it back as a concession to the communists as a result of negotiations between the communists and the Democrats. Our troops were completely demoralized. They were fighting and bleeding in a war, and the Democrats were blocking them from winning. And probably the most stunning betrayal of all, Jane Fonda traveled to Vietnam, but instead of visiting the Americans, she entertained the Communist Army. Jane Fonda committed open treason and should have been executed for her vile act. But the Democrats hailed her as a hero, and nobody had the guts to prosecute her, a pattern the Democrats have been repeating ever since. In spite of the Democrats, the U.S. military still beat the daylights out of the communists, and the communists were only days away from surrendering and pulling out of Vietnam. But the treasonous snakes of the Democrat Party succeeded in forcing our troops to pull out first and hand the victory to the communists. America won every battle of the Vietnam War only to be forced to lose the war because of political sabotage by the Democrat Party. And the shameless Democrats considered that to be one of their greatest victories. Our troops returning home from Vietnam were spit on and cursed by supporters of the Democrat Party. And when the Americans pulled out of Vietnam, the communists, who had been completely defeated, came roaring back in and butchered over 2 million Vietnamese citizens who had fought alongside the Americans to try to save their country. And the Democrats were proud of themselves. The Democrat Party in America is the Communist Party. The social justice they are calling for today is a communist tactic. The elimination of Christian moral standards is a communist tactic. Did you notice that there wasn't a single American flag at the Democrat presidential debates? We must never forget what the Democrats did during Vietnam. They are the same treasonous snakes today. In my humble opinion, instead of fighting the Taliban, we should be fighting the Democrats. This is Wild Bill for America. Thank you for watching, and America bless God again.